Call the meeting in order and welcome everybody to the July 6, 2026 council meeting. Can I get a roll call, please?
Counselor Blank,
Here.
Counselor Dowd, Counselor Waterman,
Here.
Counselor Fisher, Counselor Leftridge,
Here.
Counselor Nunnally,
Here.
Counselor Walker,
Here.
Counselor Gabrielle,
Here.
Mayor Hunter.
Here, all rise for pledge of allegiance. Ms. Gabriel, will you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have our agenda before us. I look to council for a motion. Mr. Waterman.
Your Honor, I move the agenda as published.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Nunley. Second. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries. We have consent agenda before us. We have two items on the consent agenda. The first is council minutes from May 18th and May 26th and June 1st, 2026. Second item is Fire Station 63 Professional Services Agreement Task Order 2 with LSW Architects PC. This item approves this agreement, which includes design, permitting, procurement, and construction phase services for the new station at 490 Mountain Vista Way. If there's any public comment on the consent agenda items, please step to the mic and state your name for the record or raise your hand if you're online. Seeing no public comment, I look to council for a motion. Mr. Waterman.
Your Honor, I move the consent agenda as published.
Second.
Ms. Gabriel, second. Thank you. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries. All right, we have one community report this evening. Glacier Art Museum Director Alyssa Cordova speaking to us. Ms. Cordova.
Well, good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council and community members. Thank you for your time tonight. I'm Alyssa Cordova, the Executive Director of the Glacier Art Museum, and I'm a resident here of Kalispell. I'm here today to speak about a vital pillar of our community's identity, economy, and future, our cultural infrastructure, anchored by the Glacier Art Museum, where I serve as Executive Director. I'm also joined tonight by several of our incredible board members, Eric Hummel, Rebecca Maxey, and Miffle Moorhead. I also want to say that on behalf of the museum and the Board of Directors, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to the City of Kalispell for the incredible support you all have shown us over the many years by preserving our incredible historic home, this Carnegie Library building, and for allowing us to operate here in the city for over 57 years. So thank you so much for that. And we are truly grateful for that. A little bit about our museum. You can see here, we are in the building that was built in 1903. It used to be the public library till 1968, and then it became the museum in 1969. And we've been serving the community ever since. We recently received the Nonprofit of the Year Award by the Discover Kalispell, by the Chamber of Commerce. We were really honored to receive that. We are a nonprofit. And because you all like numbers a lot, I threw in this slide. These are some of our numbers from 2025. You can see we have quite, when you think of the population of Kalispell, over 18,000 visitors and participants in our museum. We had 28 school and public tours. We served over 350 artists, 4.6K youth served in our classes, our youth exhibitions and programs. We acquired 24 new artworks to our permanent collection, and our traveling medicine show went over 6,000 miles around the state and to over 18 different venues and schools. And we have 700 plus current members of the museum. A little bit about what we do, if you're not familiar. We offer 10 year-round rotating art exhibitions about the region, Montana and Glacier National Park, art and artists. And we are the only art museum between Spokane and Missoula. So we serve quite a large radius, over about 250-mile radius. For nearly 40 years, we've also organized 2 annual exhibits for K through 8 kids and high school students. Here's some pictures of our tours and our kids. Here's some photos from our annual kids exhibit that we do every year. And we offer low-cost or free art classes for all ages, including preschool, homeschool, and after-school art classes. We're the caretakers of our historic home and over 3,500 artworks and artifacts in our permanent collection. That's a big part of what we do behind the scenes, is care for those historic and cultural artifacts. We have incredible educational programs like the Traveling Medicine Show, which I mentioned earlier, which goes into schools around the state and teaches about Blackfeet history through art and culture and storytelling directly with Blackfeet tribal members. And we've been doing that for over 15 years. And it also fulfills the Indian Education for All credits for teachers. And if you're interested in that, you can find more info on our website. We also put on incredible events throughout the year. Well, here's some photos from our Traveling Medicine Show. Here's some kids' classes. We partner with Kalispell Parks and Rec on summer art classes. We have those coming up next week, actually. We do a lot of events, community events. This was an event that was free where we worked with local Kalispell flower growers to do bouquets inspired by the artwork in our museum. That was free and open to the public. We've done some coffee connects with the chamber and some other fun events that we try to offer for free to the community throughout the year. We also put on events like our benefit gala and art auction we had at Wacholtz this year, where we work with living artists and do a benefit auction for the museum and the artists. We also have a really fun event we've been doing, Plein Air Glacier, where artists from all over the country come and they paint outdoors in the Flathead Valley and in Glacier National Park. This year we'll have 35 artists from all over the country and Canada painting August 24th through 29th. So hope you can join us for that or go find them in the park. It's kind of like Pokemon Go. You can just go see if you can spot them in the park. And then, of course, we are the founders and hosts of Arts in the Park in Depot Park. We've been putting this on for 56 years. It's the Northwest Montana's longest running arts and music festival, second longest running in the state. And we have a great lineup. We hope you can join us this weekend. It's coming up very soon, so really excited about that. And we have over 8,000 visitors attend that annually. And here's our members group, Plein Air Painters of the Flathead. They go around every Tuesday from May through October, and they paint outdoors. And if you're a member of the museum, it's free for you to be a part of this group as well. Here's some photos of our incredible docents and staff and volunteers that help us do what we do. Some more volunteers here. And then a little bit about why museums matter in our community. I thought I'd share a few more highlights about that. As Kalispell grows, we face a classic challenge. How do we preserve and protect our unique town and history while building a modern, prosperous future? The answer lies in recognizing that arts and culture are not just luxury. They are powerful economic engines. According to the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, the arts and culture sector adds over $2.2 billion in value to Montana's economy. Montana ranks fourth in the nation in the number of artists working and residing here relative to the labor force. In fact, arts and culture accounts for more than 16,000 jobs statewide. The Glacier Art Museum and other cultural sites here in our downtown, like the Northwest Montana History Museum and the Conrad Mansion, is how Kalispell captures its share of that massive economic footprint. Non-residents travel in our state brings in $5.45 billion in visitor spending annually. When tourists visit the Flathead Valley, cultural institutions like this museum are what convince them to stay longer and spend more. Roughly 1/3 of travelers state that a specific cultural heritage or arts event directly influences their decision to visit Montana, according to the state's own studies. Furthermore, the museum plays an irreplaceable role in revitalizing downtown Kalispell. A thriving art scene is the ultimate magnet for foot traffic. When a museum brings people into the heart of a city, it drives visitors to other parts of the downtown. The families attending our programs and weekend workshops and events are the very people keeping our downtown storefronts vibrant and competitive. The arts transform downtown from a generic business district into an active, resilient destination where people want to live, work, and invest. As you all make difficult decisions regarding our town's strategic growth and budget, I urge you to look at the Glacier Art Museum as an investment and an essential utility for Kalispell's financial and social well-being. The board and I are working on some exciting prospects for how our museum can continue to serve the community for the next 50 years and how the city can be a vital partner in this. We recently formed an expansion committee of board and community members and can't wait to share more about that in the near future. Let's continue to invest in the cultural heartbeat that keeps our economy strong and our downtown thriving. Please come visit us soon, and we hope to see you all at Arts in the Park this weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Cordova?
Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Right, moving on to public comment. Anyone wishing to address the council on items not on this evening's agenda, please step to the mic and state your name for the record, or raise your hand if you're online.
I'm still Russell Sias. Tonight, I usually speak impromptu, and I actually created a little list. I would like to read you a few things that I wrote. There's a book out there called Sex is a Funny World. It's for 8 to 10-year-olds. It's a transgender, lesbian, gay, and bisexual experience, as well as gender creativity and gender non-conforming children. There's another one. It's called This Is Our Rainbow, 16 Stories of Her, Him, Them, and Us. That's stories following characters of various sexual orientations. All of these, by the way, are in our library system. I confirmed that this week while I was making this list. Not My Idea is a book about whiteness, and it basically states that racism is a white problem. Another one is named When Adrian Becomes a Brother. All of these are in our juvenile section. After Adrian realized he was a trans boy, he and his parents refixed the bedroom because they were expecting a girl, and they wound up with a trans boy. Anti-Racist Baby is another juvenile selection. Babies are taught to be racist or anti-racist, and there's no neutrality anywhere in the book. Now, I've read this crap, and it's right here in our library. There's another one that I checked out just today that I haven't read, and it's for Punished for Dreaming, How Schools Reform harms black children and how to heal. I just can't wait to read that one. Anyway, my point is our education system, our parenting is in big trouble. The family is where solutions have to start. It's not going to start on Main Street. It's not going to start cruising the drag. All you're going to do by changing the routing or writing tickets is alienate our kids. That's all. That's just the way it's going to work. I have had a few kids in my home. I've had more kids that I call my illegally unadopted kids than I have actually had kids. And I had 4. And my wife put up with me dragging kids in by the dozens sometimes. Anyway, I think I speak from experience when it comes to raising kids. The family is under attack. Serious attack. So what can we do as community leaders? It's just like the Safe Haven baby box. It's all a big part of the same picture. We allow parenting to go south. We allow this kind of crap in our libraries. We confuse our kids about whether they're boys or girls. And we do that routinely in every way that we can. And it's not us doing it. It's the education system. It's wokeness, it's DEI, it's nonsense, which any of us know is literally nonsense. And anyway, my suggestion, what can we do as a city council or as a police chief? I made up some silly thoughts. How about instead of another ticket for no muffler, how about a contest about the best shine car or the quietest car? How about a 25-mile-an-hour racetrack in front of the DB meter that the police department probably already has, and see which one's the quietest? How about the blackest tires? Did you know that you can actually paint your tires black? I had no idea. Anyway, we can do things that are positive instead of negative. A ticket, rerouting the traffic pattern to interfere with cruising, that's all negative, and it's only going to be destructive in the long run. If we set out to do things that are positive, how about the cutest hood ornament? Give them an award for the best looking hood ornament. It's a lot better than trying to alienate them into doing what they should be doing and have not been taught to do. I understand the problem is the family is basically being misled and non-functional in many of these cases. But if we get inventive, we can positively try to influence these kids to join us instead of fight with us. Another thought that I had
Mr.
was,
Size, I just want to remind you, we do have a 3-minute limit. I
Okay.
try not to enforce that. You've done a good job in recent weeks of not taking up too much time, but just ask
Okay.
you to wrap it up.
all right.
Thank you.
Another thought that I had was, how accurate is the speedometer? Our police department could determine that. I will shut up and go away. But the issue isn't traffic enforcement. The issue is, how do we support non-functional families? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no further public comment, we'll move into our public hearings. We have 2 items on the public hearing agenda. One is, the first one is preliminary fiscal year 2027 budget. Council will accept comments on preliminary fiscal year 2026, 2027 budget, but first, Mr. Nygren, staff report.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, back on June 15th, the council approved a resolution setting a public hearing date for July 6th. It's a normal process before final adoption of the final budget coming up here in August. Going back, the council did hold a number of work sessions on the budget in mid-May, and we will be having another budget work session next week, just kind of going over kind of some of the final numbers in that regard and going over some of the topics that council talked about during those work sessions. But this is just a public hearing, getting public comment on the proposed preliminary budget prior to final adoption in August. Happy to answer any other questions if there are any.
Any questions for staff before we move into public comment? Okay, with that, we'll open it up for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the council on the preliminary fiscal year 2027 budget, please step to the mic, state your name, or raise your hand if you're online. Okay, seeing no public comment on our budget. Move on to the second public hearing, water, wastewater collection, and wastewater treatment facility plans. Mr. Nygren, staff report.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, once again, this has been before Council a couple weeks with the work session as well as resolution of intent to hold a public hearing, but we'll just do a quick presentation here highlighting the facility plans with Public Works, Keith Haskins, and just be holding a public hearing prior to final adoption here in the coming weeks.
Thanks, Jared. Good evening, Your Honor and Council. Tonight, we're holding a public hearing on the city's 2026 facility plan updates, the long-range plans for 3 utility systems, our water system, our sanitary sewer collection system, and our advanced wastewater treatment plant. These plans were prepared by our engineering consultant, AE2S. What you'll see tonight is a condensed overview. My goal is to walk you through the big picture in just a few minutes and then open the floor for public comments on the facility plans. First, a little bit about the objective for tonight's agenda item. This is a public hearing on whether the city should adopt these 3 facility plan updates. Because this is a high-level overview, I'll be covering only the main points, the purpose of the plans, the 3 systems, and the overall investment outlook. One important clarification, City Council adoption of these plans is not a vote on rates or fees. These plans guide project selection, prioritization, and provide planning cost estimates. Rates and fees are decided later in a separate process, and the public will have another chance to weigh in at that time. Tonight is about the process, the findings, and the capital improvement plans, not the price tag. Every technical detail, the modeling, the project list, the engineering, live in the full plans. Additionally, a more detailed review of the plans was completed in the recorded council work session on June 22nd, and it is available to watch on the city's website. So if you want to go deeper on any topic after tonight, that full session is there for you to review. Think of a facility plan as the city's long-range roadmap for a utility. Each plan does 4 things. It documents the system we have today. It forecasts what we need as a community continues to grow. It evaluates how the system is currently performing, and it ends with a phased capital improvements plan, a prioritized list of projects and their estimated costs. Why update all three at once and why now? Well, 3 reasons. First, a new state land use law, Senate Bill 382, also known as MALUPA, changes how growing cities plan for development, so having current defensible plans is important. Second, the city recently adopted its new land use plan, Planet 2045, and so our utility facility plan should be built on that same growth outlook. And third, it was time to update the plans anyway. The water facility plan was last updated in 2018, and the sewer collection system and wastewater treatment plant facility plans were last updated in 2019. Updating all 3 together now keeps them consistent, the same growth projections, today's construction costs, and alignment with the city's other plans. So here are the 3 systems at a glance. The City of Kalispell's water system includes our groundwater wells, transmission and distribution mains, storage tanks, and pressure that delivers safe drinking water across the city. The sanitary sewer collection system includes the sewer gravity mains, force mains, and 36 lift stations that carry wastewater to the treatment plant, and the advanced wastewater treatment plant, which treats flow from both Kalispell and the Evergreen area before returning clean water to Ashley Creek. The key point is all 3 plans tell one growth story. They draw on the same study area and the same population projections, and they use the same risk-based method to help prioritize where dollars go first. It's one coordinated investment into the city's future. All of this starts with growth. Determination of future demand on utilities is driven by the city's Planet 2045 growth policy, and we phase our investments across 3 planning horizons. The near-term horizon, out to roughly the year 2044, around 50,000 people, is what each facility plan's 15-year capital plans are actually built on. The midterm and long-term horizons look much further out, all the way to ultimate build-out. Those far-off projections are a ceiling, a hypothetical scenario that assumes our planning area is completely built out. This slide covers how we translate population and development growth into volumes of water and sewer. This calculation is completed through the development of duty factors. A duty factor is simply a per unit demand rate. For example, based on current volumes determined from actual metering data for Kalispell by land use classes, we determined a single family home averages about 250 gallons of water per day and sends about 150 gallons of wastewater to the sewer. For commercial and industrial land, we use volumes per acre instead of per dwelling. This table shows the rates we used for each type of land use for both water and wastewater. To project future demand, we take the acres of each land we expect to grow, multiply by an assumed density, and then apply these duty factors. Do that across each planning horizon, and you get the future water demand and wastewater flows that size our pipes, our pumps, wells, and the treatment plant. One more thing worth noting, the planned densities are intentionally a little higher than what we're seeing built today. That's a deliberate planning approach. It gives us a built-in margin, so we're designing infrastructure with enough capacity for future growth, rather than risking costly upgrades to undersized pipes and pump stations if development becomes denser over time. Before I show you any capital improvement project cost estimates, I want to be clear about what kind of numbers these are. Every cost in these plans is a planning level estimate. In the industry, these are called Class 4 estimates with an expected accuracy range of -30% to +50%. That's normal and appropriate for plans at this stage where only 1 to 15% of the engineering is complete. A few things to keep in mind. These estimates include a 30% contingency, and they're escalated to the year we expect to build each project. As a project moves into actual design, that range tightens toward a firm bid price. So these are used for prioritizing projects and for planning, not as construction bids. The dollar amounts and plan quantities will sharpen as we get closer to bidding and construction. I want to take a moment to explain how we evaluated each system because it's the same approach across all 3 plans. For every utility, we built what's essentially a digital twin, a calibrated computer model that mirrors the real system, pipe by pipe and pump by pump. First, we calibrate the digital model against real-world data so we know it behaves the way our actual system does today. That tells us how we're performing right now, where pressures are tight, where capacity is limited, and where we're in good shape. Then we stress the model. We apply the growth from our planning projections and watch how the system holds up under future demand. Wherever the model twin shows a problem, a main that can't keep up, a lift station that's overloaded, treatment capacity that's exceeded, that's exactly where a capital project gets identified. So the projects in these plans aren't guesses. They come directly from stress testing a calibrated model of each system. For water and sewer, those are detailed hydraulic models of the entire network. For the treatment plant, it's a process and capacity model. In every case, the method is the same. Confirm the model for the system as it exists today, apply growth, and let the model show us what we need to build. Closely tied to the modeling is how we decide what to fix first. We can't replace everything at once, so we plan uses So each plan uses a risk-based approach to set priorities. The idea is simple. We score every asset on 2 questions. First, how likely is it to fail? And second, how serious would the consequences be if it did? Multiply those together and you get a risk score. For the water and sewer systems, we scored every segment of pipe across the network. For the treatment plant, we scored individual assets on their condition and how critical they are to operations. Then we rank everything, from negligible all the way up to extreme. Here's the encouraging part. Across all 3 systems, a vast majority of our infrastructure is low risk. For the water mains, only about half a mile rates as extreme, and most of the high-risk pipe is clustered where you would expect it, where our oldest infrastructure exists in the downtown core. At the treatment plant, just a handful of assets, the influent pump, a heat exchanger, and some bioreactor equipment rate as the most serious. Those highest risk assets are exactly what the near-term capital plans target first. The project lists are a result of stress testing the models and then ranking everything by risk. We spend where the risk is, not everywhere at once. So let's look at the results of our water system first. Our current water system runs on 13 groundwater wells, feeding a distribution network across 2 pressure zones, about 172 miles of water main, 8 million gallons of storage, over 6,000 water valves, and over 1,800 fire hydrants. The good news is the system is performing well. 96% of our residential hydrants already meet fire flow goals. We evaluated all of this with a calibrated computer model of the entire pipe network. The 15-year capital plan for water comes to $116.8 million for 33 identified projects. This cost falls into 2 primary buckets. The first bucket includes rehab and replacement, or R&R projects. These projects repair or replace aging infrastructure, most of which is concentrated downtown in the oldest parts of the city. The second bucket includes growth and development-driven investments like wells and transmission mains to serve future demand. Again, these are planning level dollars with contingency included. Next, the sewer collection system. The existing system consists of 120 miles of gravity main, 25 miles of force main, 2,600 manholes, and 36 lift stations, serving more than 30,000 customers. Some portions of this system are over 80 years old. We evaluated it with a model that simulates wet weather conditions when rain and groundwater push flows to their peak. The 15-year capital plan for sewer collection is $79.9 million for 26 identified projects. The single biggest driver is extending the West Side Sewer Interceptor to the wastewater treatment plant, a major gravity main that's crucial as the city grows, which accounts for roughly 38% of the entire program cost. Beyond that, the plan replaces and relines aging sewers and upgrades 6 priority lift stations. Now the treatment plant, and this is the one with the most uncertainty, so I want to spend a moment here. The plant treats wastewater from both Kalispell and the Evergreen area and returns clean treated water to Ashley Creek. The challenge is that the future nutrient regulations this plant will have to meet aren't settled yet. The Ashley Creek TMDL requirements and evolving state rules could leave our permit about where it is today or tighten it significantly. Rather than bet on a single outcome, the plan stages investment around 3 scenarios. There's an $81.8 million base program of projects we need to do no matter what. These are projects to address aging equipment, capacity, and basic compliance. On top of that base, Scenario A assumes that the Montana Department of Environmental Quality would approve our current effluent requirements. This scenario would move forward with needed improvements so that we can continue to meet our current TMDL and would bring the total to about $122 million. Or Scenario B assumes that MDEQ requires the highest attainable condition, which is tightening of our current permit requirements, and that would bring the total to $139 million. Or Scenario C assumes the most restrictive limits, requiring costly upgrades for advanced treatment like reverse osmosis, and that would bring the cost up to $254 million. The important thing is that we continue implementing the base capital improvement program while preparing for potential treatment strategies identified in the facility plan. As the regulatory picture becomes clearer, staff will come back to council with updated information, recommendations, and the next phase of capital improvement projects. At that point, council will have the information needed to determine the city's treatment strategy and provide direction on how to move forward. We've now gone through an overview of the facility plans for each of the 3 systems: water, sanitary sewer collection, and the advanced wastewater treatment plant. Each of these 3 plans delivers a calibrated computer model, a digital twin of our water, sewer, and treatment systems. These models are working tools we update annually as the community grows and as conditions change. The facility plans also give us a clear picture of priorities. Every asset was scored on how likely it is to fail and how serious the consequences would be if it did, so we can address the handful of urgent projects first and then monitor the rest rather than replacing infrastructure that still has viable service life. And the whole effort is built on a current defensible foundation, today's growth as outlined in the Planet 2045 Land Use Plan, which means it holds up to public scrutiny while also providing the foundation needed to support public applications to potential funding agencies. The result is one coordinated and phased 15-year roadmap that sequences investment to actual need, directs our dollars where they return the most value, and positions our projects to compete for outside funding. So the real value of this detailed planning effort is insight to our existing facilities and a clear roadmap for the future, which will guide right-sized, defensible decisions for years to come. Ultimately, the plan positions the city with identified projects that are ready to compete for state and federal grants or to pursue loans such as low-interest state revolving fund loans, which are a great tool for these water and sewer projects and often offer debt forgiveness. With that, let's turn to what happens next. Here's the path forward. Step 1 is tonight, public comment. Step 2, public input gets reviewed and folded into the draft plans as applicable. Staff and AE2S will finalize the plans and bring them forward for council adoption. Step 3, we'll continue coordinating with the state DEQ to sharpen that wastewater regulatory outlook. Step 4, we will utilize the adopted plans to complete a utility rate analysis and secure funding. And finally, we move forward with approved priority projects to budgeting approval, design, bidding, and construction. So that's the overview. To sum up, 3 coordinated facility plans, 1 growth story, staged investment, and planning level costs. The city welcomes your comments on these 2026 facility plan updates before they're finalized and adopted. I want to highlight that rate analysis step because that's where these plans translate into the rates and fees that actually fund the work. That's another point where public input matters, so this won't be the last time you hear from us on these plans. Also, as stated previously, the complete recorded work session and full draft plans are available on the city's website if you'd like to dig deeper. And with that, I'll turn it back over to Mayor Hunter to open up the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll open this item up for public comment. Anyone wishing to address this item, please step to the mic, state your name, or raise your hand if you're online.
We do have one person online.
Okay, if you're online, free to write comment.
Go ahead, Darla. Darla, did you want to provide public comment? Darla? Her audio must not be working.
Okay. If you'd like to provide public comment, you could always email the council at publiccomment@kalispell.com. Okay, seeing no further public comment, we'll close the public hearing on this item and we'll move to our action agenda. And the first item on the action agenda is parking updates and off-street parking fees. Resolution 6331, off-street parking fees. This resolution considers amending parking permit fees and parking ticket infraction fee schedules. And ordinance 1952, first reading parking updates. This ordinance considers removing a 30-minute parking spot south of the Public Safety Building and incorporating a rolling rule. We'll have staff presentation on both items. We'll take public comment on both items, questions for staff on both items, and then we'll have a motion on each item individually and discussion and vote on each item. So, Mr. Nagin, staff report.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, you do have a resolution and an ordinance before you for consideration tonight. As you recall, on May 26th, the City Council had a work session regarding these items and discussed them at length at that time. On May 26th, the council discussed a parking advisory board recommendation as well as some short-term strategic recommendations coming forth through the Kalispell parking strategy that was created by the Kalispell Downtown Forward. In general, what you have before you is a resolution that addresses the fines within the downtown core in regards to current fines, which are $10. The proposal before you would actually create an escalating fee schedule with the first fine being $30 going up from 10, with a second offense of 40 and a third offense of 50 with any 1 year time frame. Also increasing the safety fee up to $50 from 10, and the boot fee to $100 from 35. And once again, these are recommendations coming up from the Parking Advisory Board. And really what this stems from is just issues that go back with the downtown plan, just talking about city lots being underutilized and employees in downtown parking on street. We talked a bit about that at the work session, but in regards to rocking and rolling, 2-hour parking is the city rule, but in general, with the way we've done it in the past, it's been tough for the city to enforce that. Another change with the resolution would include just amending the fee schedule. Currently, there's a list of fees depending on the city permit lot, which you could see up on the screen. There was varying fee schedule, but the proposal that was discussed was just doing a flat permit fee of $30, and that fee would apply to any city lot. And if you had a permit, you could park in any one of those lots at any time you wanted to. So you wouldn't be designated a particular spot in a particular lot. You could really go anywhere in the downtown to utilize one of the city lots. So this would put that in place. Also did propose a rolling rule, which really is to address the rocking and rolling. What that would do is essentially, if you get a citation in the past, you could move 5 feet forward and you were fine. This would make it to where you have to move at least 600 feet within any 8-hour time period. So there is a rule in regards to that we'd be happy to discuss with council. There is this is more of an update in regards to a 30-minute spot south of the Public Safety Building. You could actually see it right there. It would remove that as a 30-minute spot. Lastly, these aren't necessarily resolutions or ordinances, but more policy-driven. Valley Bank was also talked about becoming a 2-hour lot for the general public to park in, which is this lot. So anybody that currently has permits in one of those lots would still have the ability to have a permit. They would just have to park within one of the other city lots. And also implementing LPR or license plate reader within the downtown in our parking enforcement division, which is in the preliminary budget. And we have started the process of purchasing that, but ultimately won't be finalized until we get through final budget. One thing that we did not do was that's before you, it was mentioned in public comment, but it wasn't talked about at length, was reinstituting 2-hour parking on 2nd Avenue West. Certainly based off of this discussion or in the future, we could add that back in. At a number of years ago, the council removed the 2-hour parking in that area just because it was severely underutilized at that time, but we have received recent complaints that there is more parking on that street due to some of the development that's happened in that area. I will say that we don't have any up-to-date data that would show kind of the utilization of that, but with LPR, we will be able to do that, and it is a relatively easy endeavor if council were to choose to reinstitute 2-hour parking on 2nd Avenue West, which is kind of the commercial corridor or the commercial core as well. So don't really see any issues with that other than in the past it was severely underutilized, and we're trying to include or try to get some of the rockers and rollers to park in that area just further away from Main Street, and that was the reasoning for that in the past. We'll say that there certainly will be a grace period going into this, not looking at going out heavy-handed at any point in time initially. I mean, in general, the ordinance is going to take at least, you have first reading, second reading in 30 days, but looking at partnering with some of our other stakeholders like the T-Bid and Chamber and downtown Kalispell Ford to do some messaging as well as some wayfinding signage in regards to the parking. And other than that, happy to answer any questions.
Questions for staff? Mr. Waterman.
Just one question I have, Jared, is we're talking about the permitted lots, but we have some permitted on-street parking off of First Street East. Is that included? What happens with that? Because we were talking about if you have a permit, you're able to park in any lot.
Yeah, they would continue to be permit.
So just for those
Yep.
bases.
So anybody that had a permit could park in those spots as well.
So it is included
Yes.
as the
Yeah, and you
open
could-
part of all the lots.
See those right here.
So for the purposes of this conversation, we're including that
Yes, that's
street
correct.
as a lot.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Dowd?
Is the Central School alley lot still incorporated, or is that going to go with the building?
That would still be city.
Okay.
It'd still be a city lot.
Could you, Mr. Nolly?
Sorry. Thank you, Your Honor. Just a quick question. Since we last talked about this and went through this, I know there was a lot of different moving components to this that we were hearing, right, from public comment and staff and different organizations. Has staff looked at over this even more since then much? And where does staff feel on this as it stands today?
Well, I'd say in general, I think it will, the LPR is kind of a critical to this whole thing. 2-hour parking has always been there. It's just how do you enforce 2-hour parking, which we haven't really been able to do. In the past, it's just for a matter of practice been 4-hour parking, and if you knew how to avoid that, you could park all day. The fines have been recommended by the Parking Advisory Board for quite some time. Whether or not they're actually a deterrent at the current rate, you know, if you could easily pay a fine and get it a couple times a week and not really be affected by that. So really, we're comfortable with the path forward. It's been discussed at length by the Parking Advisory Board, and there are also recommendations coming out of downtown Ford. Certainly, there may be some bumps in the road that we'll have to address, and as discussed at the work session as well, with the license plate reader system and the ability to collect the data, we'll have the ability to make adjustments if we need to.
Okay, thank you.
The color coding here, red versus yellow, I didn't quite catch that. What's the difference here?
So red is a non-parking space. So you'll see there at the alleys typically or in site triangles. So.
And then the parking spaces on the street north of Depot Park, there was some discussion about including that in the permitted parking. Was that included here? Looks like not.
So they're not at this time. I know that I actually had a note on that as well. There was discussion at the work session about coming up with a plan for alternative uses of city lots as far as for events and things like that. That will be likely having a work session here in the future, and that would be a time to discuss that. But this really just handles the parking within from Center Street south in the main downtown core. And you know, as you can see, there's just so much parking in general up there that I don't think we've ever seen a huge demand for that. But certainly if we saw our city lots filling up, that would be an option to make that a city permit spot for sure.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Dowd?
Thank you, Your Honor. I know that without context, we're going to get a lot of public comment, possibly in the future, about a license plate reader system. And I would love to point everybody back to our work session that we had on the parking. We had some discussions on this, and I guess my question here would be for the chief. You know, we discussed that we wanted to put policy around what the system will be used for. We discussed it being used for parking only. Obviously, we would have to make city policy that went around that. But you know, this is kind of a controversial issue around the country right now. I just want to you know, get the chief's aspect on, you know, according to the Montana Constitution, in order to implement any system like this, which includes kind of a surveillance component, you have to first, it has to be justified, and it has to be justified to the public. You know, explained out exactly, you know, what we're doing and why. Is this going to pose a problem if we segment off the license plate reader to only be used for parking enforcement?
It would require policy change, and it would require a lot further. Montana law does allow license plate readers for further than just parking. Our intention and our policy with this program will be specific to parking. And what differentiates the two is what data is used, how it's stored, what we retrieve from that information. But does that answer your question?
It does. So basically, your answer is that and just to clarify, it is something that is allowed by the Montana Constitution and
Yes.
by Montana Code, but it also comes with some restrictions that it has to be justified, and we have to inform the public that we're using it.
Yes, Montana law is very clear about even if we were to use license plate readers for criminal justice information, which this program does not do that, even if we were to, it still comes with the same probable cause standards and reasonable suspicion to retrieve that information. It's not just open source pulling info. It still has to follow the same legal standards, and it's clearly laid out in Montana Code Annotated.
Okay, great. And, I appreciate that. I kind of had to, I led you to that answer because I wanted the public to be informed and to hear it right from the police chief. So I really appreciate your explanation of that. And I just can see this coming in the future. So I wanted to kind of head off some of the preliminary questions that we're going to have about it. The other question is, would we be able to share this information with anybody? And the answer to that, which you would give me, is only if policy allowed. So
Correct.
it's our job up here on the dais to set that policy. So thank you very much for your answer.
Okay. We'll open this item up for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the council on this item, please step to the mic, state your name for the record, or raise your hand if you're online.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and council members. Thanks for being here tonight. My name is Mike Smith, Glacier Bank, 202 Main Street. So we got an email or a phone call on June 9th talking about the changes coming to the parking lot. Glacier Bank has 34 spaces right now with the city. And I'll paraphrase what the conversation went like, that eventually the Downtown Forward Group is recommending that all parking spaces in the lots have to be done individually. Today, Glacier Bank writes a check for these 34 lots. Going forward, our employees would have to put their credit card, pay, we would have to reimburse them. And so when I called Karen to talk about it, again, she's great. This isn't about her or the city or the police chief. It's really, when I talked to Karen about it, she goes, well, Mike, nobody's complained, so here I am to complain. This is, a huge shift for Glacier Bank. We have, again, 100 employees working downtown, 34 spots that were partnered. We've partnered with the city of Kalispell for over 20 years with different spots. It's awkward. The chamber is a great partner of Glacier Bank. FBA, another great partner. We're kind of caught in between. But here's, I guess, my concern is, the inefficiencies of really having our staff have to pay for these every month, and then for us to reimburse them is just more work. We're trying to get more efficient. Obviously, I'm confident. I talked to the chief. Could you create a commercial account? I would hope that wouldn't be that hard. That would be easier for everybody. But the whole idea of our employees walking, pulling into work at 8 a.m., that's not going to be a problem. But if they leave for lunch, they leave for a doctor's appointment, and their spot's gone, that we don't have to deal with that today. That is going to create some unhappy employees, could have morale issues. Glacier Bank, I've heard different things that, hey, you guys have 4 lots, your parking space at 2nd and Main that we share with Valley Bank, it's open all the time. Here's the facts, that we have about 10,000 customers a month walk into that bank. We have another 11,000 transactions at Center Street. So we are a vibrant bank with lots of customers, so it's really important that we serve them. And I'm concerned that as we shift to this, or it's a free game, like Jared talked about, the city manager talked about the Valley Bank lot, that's going to be 45 people that will be displaced. Are they going to move to our 2nd and Main, try to park there today? And we've had a heck of a time with our neighbor. We've had to hire security to help protect our spaces in there for our customers. So it has been a challenge without having any street maintenance of parking. So my recommendation is really focus on the street parking. Let's take time to figure out the lot parking, because I don't think it's a pain point today. I look at it as today Glacier Bank has 4 lots that the public can park in after 5 o'clock. On the weekends, they can, over the weekend for the fair, our lots were full. We do not care if people are parking there. What we do care is that during the winter, can our plows get in there to, maintain those lots? So thank you for listening, and if you have questions, I'm here.
Thank you. Seeing no further public comment, look to council for motion on the first item, resolution 6331. Mr. Leffridge.
Your Honor, I move resolution number 6331, resolution amending resolution 5676, amending off-street parking fees within the city of Kalispell pursuant to the powers granted to municipal governments by the Montana Constitution and in accordance with Kalispell City Ordinance 1738 and setting an effective date.
Mr. Walker, second. Thank you. Discussion on the item.
Can I ask a follow-up question in regards to Mr. Smith's comments? Why wouldn't we be able to have a business buy a number of permits for their employees without going through that reimbursement process?
We can, but as part of the LPR, we will need to know their license plate numbers in order to track that as part of it, which right now, you would just get a hanger and put it in your car. So that would be the one change. We do have the ability, to, as the chief said, to set up a commercial account for that. But the one change is we will need to, through that payment process, need to have a list of all the license plate numbers for each of those permits.
So a business could buy it for their employees. They would just need to register the license plates that it would be
correct.
associated with.
Right.
Mr. Dowd.
It kind of sounded like there was 2 parts to that. That was one part. The other part was today, when they purchase a space, they get a specific space. And that's for their use consistently. So this would be a change. So one of the reasons we came up with this, well, I guess we didn't come up with it. One of the reasons we discussed it and approved this was because there's a lot of underutilized lots downtown that probably don't specifically have to do with the lot that Glacier uses. And we were trying to make sure that if people had paid for a permit, that they had plenty of lots to choose from, and they can go anywhere, right? So I do understand why we went this direction and why the parking committee, came forward with this suggestion. But I do also understand that for the larger businesses, this is a bigger problem because now their employees may have to park a few blocks away. Like if they go out for lunch, they lose their spot, somebody else parks there, they'll have to find a parking place and come back to their place of employment. So I do recognize that that issue, but once again, this is kind of a compromise for the entire downtown. So I'm a little bit torn about my feelings on this. I like the program that we're going to because I think it will assist in some of the lots that are very convenient that aren't being utilized because the people are just not parking there and they have a permit. But in the case of the big the big businesses downtown that have multiple spots, I do see this being more of a headache. So I guess what I'm doing right now is saying, yes, I do understand exactly what your complaint is. I still feel that, for the majority of these lots, they might be better utilized. There's nothing that makes the city look as bad as when people are complaining there's no parking downtown, but the city lots are like empty, right? That's a pretty bad image to have. So I think we made a pretty big compromise here, and I'd be willing to. This is, I think this is going to pass tonight, as is, but I would be very willing to work with some additional ideas moving forward because we can always modify this. Thanks.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do agree with you too, Sid, that there's some stuff here, and I think something that I have done since we last talked was really drive around these streets and neighborhoods every time I'm running an errand or even after work at night looking around. And I started noticing something that I have been remiss in recognizing in downtown Kalispell. I go to Whitefish, they have a vibrant downtown, right? But I look at what those businesses are downtown, and those businesses are those small shops that we do have some, right? We do have some of those small shops. But I think what I've been remiss in recognizing is that our main street, I don't think is the majority, the small little retail shops. I think we have a whole lot more in office space, in desks. You look at the banks. I think having Mr. Smith bring this up tonight kind of just sunk to me that we do have more flowing in and around than are just the retail shops. And I think that if we made a major wholesale change in this quick, which I think eventually we may get there, but I do feel we probably, for me, I think I'd like to figure out the way to do the LPRs first so that we can start to get those hard-driven data of what truly is making this an impact, right? I guess, how many complaints have you received in the last year about parking?
Well, I think the council's been on for quite some time. I don't think you've seen, I mean, you anecdotally you see a lot, but these last couple months, we haven't received a lot per se. I don't know if the chief has been getting any directly or Karen has, but we hear all the time there is no parking downtown. You hear that, but as far as public comment getting in and direct public comment, I haven't received any. So.
I guess where I'm driving to is I would like to see us be able to have the ability to produce better data, to understand what our issues are, truly understand, not anecdotally just, sitting up here listening to different folks, but I really do think that having LPR, being able to do that and address that and look at those numbers, because I think if we just make a jump on this today, I feel that we would run into unintended consequences, and I think we will get a lot of public comment back on it once we do it. So I guess I'd like to find that way to do the LPR, but I can't support the rest as a wholesale jump right now.
Mr. Dunn.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think what I hear Councilman Nunnally saying here is that there is some desire on the council to postpone this decision until we have better data. And actually, we didn't actually talk about any of the larger buildings downtown, the larger businesses downtown when we had this discussion. We didn't get any public comment at the time of our work session either about this. I would be okay with postponing this to a later date. I don't want to say table because I don't want to kill it, right? Just postponing it to another later date if the council felt that's the direction we wanted to go.
I guess let me clarify a little bit because I think there's a little nuance in what I'm saying. I'm okay moving forward with LPR so we can start collecting the data to understand where our challenges are, truly understand where our challenges are before we make some of these wholesale changes. My fear is once you start to open the toothpaste tube and squeeze the toothpaste out, it's always harder to put it back into the tube. So I'm leery on that part. But I could support LPR with policies so that we can start to drive to get that data so that we know what we're doing when we make this decision.
So there's two parts to the resolution. There's the fines for rules that are essentially already in place. So there's that the council consider, because that's a big component of it. Really, the public comment part of it was in regards to the lots. And those just be, like, right now you buy a permit not for a space, but for a lot. So the proposal is to, essentially, it's a flat fee and you can park in any of the lots that are up there with that fee. Which right now, any one of those spots, if you were to go there during the day, you could park in them. And a number of them are wide open. So the question is, when you get the rockers and rollers off the street, are they gonna fill those lots? That is a question, and maybe they will, but you're only gonna know that if you enforce it.
Jared, can I add something real quick? One thing just to make sure everyone understands. So as it stands right now, we could still use the software to use a digital type of enforcement through the LPR. I just want to make sure we understand there's two different things. This is changing lot use from a single identified lot that you get to park in to more free choice of each lot. But either way, as it stands right now, LPR can enforce it digitally even as the lots stand unchanged.
Thank you, Your Honor. And that's kind of why I'm saying I would like to run this for a bit with the LPR so that we can get that data back, because I don't want to make an unintended change to the lots that is going to impact half of Main Street and potentially not the other half. Right? I don't want to take out the impact the offices that are down there because we're trying to protect the retail. I also, in the same thing, don't want to address just the offices, right? Or I want to try to find something equal that we're not doing something unintended to either side. I just think having that data would be helpful before making some of these changes.
Mr. Leffridge.
I'm just kind of curious, Mr. Nunley, what kind of information the LPR could generate that would kind of help with this? I mean, my understanding, and Chief, perhaps you can elaborate on this, but the LPR is really just kind of, is this person supposed to be here? Have they been here for a certain period of time? Is it also collecting usage data in terms of how many cars are going to be there in a lot, like what the utilization of that lot is, and lose the ability to try to solve the problem cohesively? So my question is to everybody, I guess, but what kind of data can we get and what kind of information are you seeking?
Well, I just want to make sure, because we didn't hear what Mr. Smith had brought up at all, right? Downtown forward or not, we didn't hear that. And that's a big part of our Main Street. Not just his bank, right? But we've got many other banks. We got many other offices on Main Street, right? That I just want to make sure that when we're making these decisions of whatever we do on the street parking or the parking lots, that we're not upending something that we weren't expecting. And hearing this after what I have been seeing for, a while since we talked about this, just being very extra observant to this, and then hearing Mr. Smith bring that up really concerns me that we could be upending something that was not brought up necessarily in the report. So however that is, we collect that data. I want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence on that, on new information that has been brought forward. That's just my big thing, right? Because I totally respect what he's saying about having employees leave for lunch and all of a sudden they can't park there. Because we do know that we have street parking, on-street parking. And we know that a lot of that on-street parking is employees that are already down there. But we hear from customers who can't get to the stores because the employees of the stores and those offices are taking those spaces. How do we do that without upending everything and causing a bigger problem? That's where I guess I'm trying to get at.
The other option for council to consider without changing kind of the methodology with everything, you could slow walk the Valley Bank lot as well and leave that a permit lot. I know that was a centerpiece to the discussion as well, more spaces for just downtown kind of coming and going. The plan was to make that 2-hour parking as well, so that the traveling public or anybody coming downtown, because we do always hear there's never a place to park, that would be a spot that the general public could go all the time. The council could wait on that decision as well and still just make it general permit parking, and you could park in any lot, but leave the Valley Bank lot a permit lot. But once again, that doesn't address one of the concerns that's been brought up as well. Just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you.
Mr. Waterman.
So just as we're having this conversation, Mr. Nunley, I completely agree with you, and I guess this is something I've always known about our downtown. We do have large organizations that are buying permits, but also are really good for the walk by for those of us who might have a smaller business. That's where I've always felt like this issue that we're talking about, but we do have a very distinct downtown that has some large businesses. The change seems like the challenge is, and maybe something we didn't discuss all the way through, is the permit parking has been with a tag, and now we're moving it into the reader, which requires, for enforcement, I mean, we would need to individually put everybody's vehicle into the system. And that sort of prevents us, something that used to happen also is that, say somebody in the family switches cars, but they just move their permit from a different car. I'm an employer and I have a couple of employees. I get a new employee, I'm giving a different tag out. I mean, it's a procedural change about permitting that I think we're talking about. Unfortunately, if I'm reading the resolutions right, we've ganged all this together. Is that correct, Mr. Nygren? I mean, the parking lots and the on-street 2-hour parking are ganged together in this resolution?
Well, you could move you could amend the exhibit to not include the permit parking changes. And really, the permits and how they're managed is more policy than it is ordinance. It's just managed through KPD, but we like to be transparent about what's going on. I would say we do also have the ability, if you were to drive a different car, through the technology, just to register that car that morning. Wouldn't take, I mean, that's just the world we live in now. It can be done instantaneous. It's whether you want to embrace the technology or not.
So part of it is, I mean, it does seem like we have ways to move this resolution forward with just the 2-hour on-street parking if we wanted to pull the permit side of it out for further consideration. They don't have to be ganged together, but I do think that that's part of the challenge. The other change that we've made is you can park in any lot. I mean, I think Mr. Smith, thank you again for your comment, but what Mr. Smith is talking about is that he buys permits for a specific lot for his employees. They go to lunch, somebody takes that spot, they need to go to a different lot. So that's the other large structural change that we're making about permits is the universal, you could go anywhere, which doesn't address that one specific concern.
I don't want to interject you. So if you wanted to not just make it a general permit for all the city lots, we're really just talking about that chart and leaving the chart in place. You essentially would leave these. You can see we added in monthly parking permit fee 30. The policy would be you could park in any city lot if you had registered the car, which is really easy way to do it. Right now, there's basically you're buying a permit for a specific lot, not a specific space, and you could park there. We have different varying schedules. Our recommendation would be if council didn't want to make it just you could park in any city lot, you leave these and we would just amend it to make all these $30. Drop this off, just leave these $30, and it essentially would be relatively status quo other than changing the permit fee if that's the route council wanted to go.
Mr. Walker.
Yeah, I guess I'm comfortable with these changes. We went through all this in the work session. I'm sensitive to the concerns of Glacier Bank. I mean, employees having to walk a couple extra blocks, maybe make them late back from lunch. I mean, or from their appointments, and that can be annoying. I mean, I guess I feel like this is a baby step, that we aren't making big sweeping changes. We're just kind of buckling down on enforcement and trying to broaden some of the places where these employees can park. So I feel like we are making a baby step, and that the license plate reader and the data will help inform that and see if it's working, if we're moving, the step is in the right direction. And if not, we can take the baby step backwards. I don't think this council is opposed to undoing something that may be a mistake. I think if we see the data is working, then we can push forward with the improvement. So I don't have any problem with taking this baby step.
I want to point out, in past council with the Valley, because specifically, I think Smith is referring to the Valley Bank, maybe the Eagle Lot as well. Past council has voted to approve a hotel on that lot and a parking garage. So we've kind of already decided to sacrifice those lots to a certain extent. We just haven't seen it actually get developed yet. In this case, we're kind of temporarily altering the management of the lots until theoretically this other proposal will come forward. But one of the things I don't have a strong opinion about like the Valley Bank lot, whether it's opened to general public or stays a permit lot. But in terms of like the idea of a employee leaving for lunch, coming back, their spot is gone. I also think of the other way, which is that employee doesn't come into work for that day, but that site in that parking lot is now locked up for the day because a permit has been purchased for it. Whereas when we I think one of the benefits of this kind of floating thing is that then somebody can come in and actually take that spot because it's convenient for them on that day for the person who's not coming into work that day or whatever. So that I see the value of it. And I agree it is, I'm certain this is not the end all be all and the perfect plan. I think we will find once we implement it that there's going to be adjustments, and we've talked about, using the data to figure out how to make it work. I think because we have such underutilized spaces, despite the public perception out there, that right now the concern that people aren't going to be able to find a spot when they go for lunch isn't something I'm too concerned about. I think we should wait to see that problem materialize and adjust to it, because right now everything's telling us there's a lot of spaces available, and this is going to make a baby step to try to get a new situation and test it. So that's where I would be. The bigger concern for me, I think the biggest thing, next to secondary to the LPR, which I think is the biggest thing, but the next biggest thing for me is the fees and the amounts, because I think one of the problems is that people are purchasing these permits, but it's so cheap that whether they use it or not, is insignificant to them. And so I think the fees need to be high enough that people feel I'm only gonna, rather than buying 5 and 2 extra just in case, I'm gonna buy 5 because that's what I know I need, right? And the ticket on the street needs to be high enough that people don't just say, oh, it's a cup of coffee. I can, that it's significant enough that, oh, I don't want a parking ticket. I'm going to make sure that I'm not parking too long on Main Street. So when I look at the monthly permit fee of $30, we talked about this before, that's $1 a day. Go to any city and find $1 a day parking. I mean, you're never gonna find it in any other city. I would like to, I think we talked about $2 a day. Let's just make it $2 a day, make it $60 a month. I think you'd have to adjust the parking tickets to kind of, so it's not cheaper than that by the time you are hitting that third offense. So, having it at 30 the first offense, 50 the second offense, and then maybe like 75 the third offense. Would be something I'd like to see, just to make it a little more, again, test that hypothesis, which I think is correct, but that these fees are way too low for being effective in parking management. Mr. Dunn.
I'm trying to find a piece in here that specifically talks about the Valley Bank parking lot and making that a 2-hour open to the public lot. Is that in here? Because I can't
So
find it.
the Kalispell Police Department has basically, they manage the lots and it's policy. So we're just making it, so it'd just be a policy change that we wouldn't sell permits in that lot anymore, that it would become a 2-hour lot.
Is it in here or is it just
No,
something?
that's
administrative?
why I meant, it's not part of a resolution or an ordinance, but that is, we could choose not to do that and it could continue to be a permit lot, but there was some discussion, once again, of making public more or parking more accessible to the public. That Valley Bank is the most visible lot right on Main Street, that the traveling public or the community would have a spot that they could go to and park for the day right in the middle of Main Street. Right now, you can't do that because it's a permit lot. So that was the reason for it. Don't need any council the council could say, we want to keep that a permit lot, and we'll do that. Right now, as you can see, we sell permits within it, but we could choose not to do that, and we would start to enforce it as a 2-hour lot.
Yeah, I think it's worth finding out if the you can park in any lot you want to rule is going to change the number of people that actually park in that lot every day. Or I mean, it could lessen, or it could make a bigger impact on that lot. Yeah, so I was looking for that specifically to make a to make an amendment to remove it, but since it's not even in here, I would like to see, what the ramifications are of the open lots, and just see how utilized it is. Maybe people would prefer to park there. Maybe that's a great lot for people to go hit up if they do leave work and have to come back and say, well, I figure my lot's been full in the past, so I'll just go to this one because it's open, or it's usually open. So, yeah, after we talked through this, I thought there was a piece in here that actually specified that the Valley lot was going to 2-hour open to the public, which I'm actually in favor of just because of the underutilization that it has today. But I'm definitely willing to see if that actually makes a difference once we open all lots up to any permit holder. Long story short, there's nothing in here that I have to change to make that happen. So I feel a little bit better about it.
Can I go back to my question for the chief? What will the license plate readers do in terms of giving us data on the utilization of particular lots?
It can collect daily usage, average length of time in a parking lot, peak hours, anything you can think of how our parking downtown works, it'll collect the data.
So it would be able to give us a comprehensive understanding of what each lot's utilization is throughout the day.
Yes.
And in terms of the rotation that we're going to be using with the license plate readers, how many times will the parking enforcement go through a lot to give us that data?
Well, the joy of that is it can be more random, so it can't be gamed. So it'll just be frequently, all through downtown, random, hitting different lots versus a scheduled time where people can avoid the tire chalker.
Okay. Thanks. Sorry for the deposition style questions.
No worries.
But hypothetically, it'd be hourly, right? So, and we've done that in the past, handwriting it every street, and that's how we've done our parking studies in the past, is by driving block by block, street by street, every single hour on the hour in the summer and in the winter during peak times. And so that's how we've done it in the past, but the LPR will be able to do that instantaneously with having a couple staff driving around checking boxes. But, yeah, I mean, I guess the flip side is that the Valley Bank lot is Main Street. If there are small businesses, that's where they're at, and having the parking available to them. And that was the argument for making that 2-hour parking rather than employee parking, which certainly even at this point is underutilized as that. The question is, when we do start enforcing the 2-hour parking to a more extensive level, and we are able with increased fines to hopefully push people to the city lots, how much they're utilized and are they actually filling up? Because that would ultimately be the goal, so that then the general public will have more on-street parking, which is 2 hours as well.
Meetings, I'm sure he has people that are coming and going all day long, and to come back, the time wasted driving around trying to find a parking place is going to be extensive. And the first rule of human resources is the only gift that, or the only surprise that's ever good is a gift. This will set some people, this will make some people really angry, and I think it's not going to harm anything by waiting and trying the rest of it first. I fully support the rates. I fully support increasing their rates if we need to, but I really don't think we need to do that piece right now. I'd like to get the data, as Mr. Nunnally suggested, and come back and look at it. And I do disagree. If we do make this change, you don't go back and undo it. That won't happen. It may be modified, but we wouldn't go back to where it was. So for my 2 cents, I guess that's my opinion. Thank you.
Sweater.
Just see where we are. Thank you for your leading questions to the police chief. It gives a good understanding that actually we could get more data in the parking lots. I would hope that maybe we could find some ways to have some accommodation for large purchases of those, of how that would work. It sounds like then employees could update their own information in their permits, or we could make that something that's online. Is that correct?
That's correct. And if this is a route the council wants to go as far as the resolution itself, in that sense, if you would just leave all this the way it is, the permits, the permit fees for the lots themselves, you would leave them as is and just be adding the infraction component if that's the direction council wanted to go. And we could, with the increased enforcement and the increased fines over the next year, continue to monitor the lots and come back and show what the utilization of those lots is after the increased on-street parking enforcement, that if that's the route council wanted to go.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just want to clarify, I don't have a problem increasing the rates at all. That's fine with me. It's probably time. Will this be an app, Mr. Nygren, where people can go on and update their information? So I've spent a lot of time in Arizona this year, and there's apps all over the place to park at a hotel. Now, you have to get an app so you can pay for your parking. So I think that's a great way to go as far as being able to update your information whenever you need to.
Mr. Leffridge.
So I just want to go back to the Downtown Forward study. When they went and talked to all the businesses downtown, the number one issue of all the businesses that they spoke to was there's a lack of parking for our customers, right? So as they dove into it, the issue that they found were that employees were parking on the street in front of the businesses, the path of least resistance, right? It's easier to park right in front of your business and not have to walk a few blocks. Employees were parking there and the fine wasn't sufficient in order to deter them from doing that. So we're solving that here by having increased parking tickets and an escalation, and the mayor won't like this, but I would prefer to amend the first one to $20 instead of $30. And we can talk about that in a minute. But so that solves the problem. But then, as we've talked about with the west side parking around the school, all right, so now we're pushing people away from where they were parking. Where do they go? So we've just created a new problem. So the solution that Downtown Forward came up with was, all right, if we're creating this new problem of these employees not having anywhere to park, where do we put them? Well, we look with anecdotal data that all of the lots are underutilized. And so if we can create an opportunity for those employees to go and utilize the underutilized spots all over downtown, then that solves that problem. So if we're bifurcating the problem here, we're solving one thing, but we're creating another problem, and then we're putting it off into the future in order to give us data that anecdotally, we know those lots are being underutilized. I understand the issue of people not wanting to walk an extra block or two if you used to park there. I work downtown, and if I go to a meeting in the middle of the day, I have zero expectation the spot that I parked in will be available for me. Does that mean that if I leave in the middle of the day and I had to go to a meeting that I have to walk another 2 blocks? Sure, or I'll just park at home and I'll walk another 4, 5 blocks in order to get back to work. That's an expectation and that's a reality of working downtown. So I'm very hesitant on trying to bifurcate these issues because the package we have in front of us is intended to be comprehensive. Now, if it's wrong, great, we'll know that. This was a failed experiment. But I do believe that if we just go halfway with this, that we are going to be creating additional problems that we're going to be dealing with before too long. And I believe that we have an answer to it.
Down.
Your Honor, may I direct a question to staff? All right. First off, when was the last time these parking, the cost for permit parking was actually looked at and adjusted?
It's been, the chief will have the date, but the last time we adjusted, they went from $20 down to 10.
Okay,
I believe it's 2012, around there.
all right. That's good information to have. The second thing is, I believe, Mr. Nygren, you said that if we could still pass both the resolution and the ordinance, and it wouldn't require us to change the lots to be open to everybody all the time.
That's correct, but I mean, it would be knowing, the discussion was that that lot would become a 2-hour lot, and we want to make sure that it's transparent to the public and it does coincide. But no, we, as staff, could continue to keep it that way if that's the route council wanted us to go.
So we can still pass both of these, taking all of the input that we had from all the different organizations that helped build this plan, without any impact, and then it would be just up to actually city policy, maybe even not the council policy, to choose when we open the lots up to any permit holder can go to any lot. Is that correct?
Okay, if you were to pass the resolution before you, it would get rid of the fee schedule for various lots and a permit for various lots. It would become one permit fee and you would park in any city lot, but the Valley Bank lot, the plan was for it to become a 2-hour lot. If the council doesn't want to go there, we would continue to keep it a permit lot. You pay the $30 fee and you could just park in Valley Bank lot. I will say that that one will probably fill up first and fill up fastest because it's central. And now that it's pretty much free game, it'll certainly be one of those lots that probably fills up the fastest with neighboring business owners. But council, it's a permit lot now. It is one of the lots that has the most permits sold in it. That one and a couple others, but it's more of a policy change that you would want to change that to a 2-hour lot versus a permit lot.
All right, thanks for clarifying. Appreciate it.
No further discussion.
Mr. Tiller.
But
Mr. Tiller.
but I don't. It wasn't her. I mean, it was just it was an anecdotal comment, I believe. But you know, for those overstaying 2 hours, $30 just seems like a lot if somebody is downtown. I'd also be okay with somebody being able to dispute their ticket by showing that they were shopping downtown. But that seems difficult to enforce. But I'm good with the escalating fines. I mean, if somebody is a repeat offender, I think that the increasing fines over the course of the year will deter that repeat behavior. But for one person, one time, I don't know, $30 seems kind of like a lot. That's why.
No, we need a second.
Mr. Nunley seconded. So now.
No, I said we need a second.
I'm
Sorry, there's a
Second.
difference there.
Need a second to
Second.
the. Mr. Dow, that was the second?
Correct.
Okay, now we have a motion and a second to amend for $20 first offense ticket, Mr. Nunley.
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay, you hit on something, and then I looked at him, and he said something, and I was like, you know what? That makes sense. A validation process.
Ooh.
If you're a customer and you're going downtown and you're spending time, money at Glacier or whatever, do we want to even try that? To the comment you're at.
What would
I think it would
stop
be a nightmare to manage, but
Yeah. What would stop an employee from validating their own their own parking for the day.
right? That's what I mean. It would be a nightmare to manage. Just had to throw that out there as a thought.
What I'd hate to see is lower the amount and then still have the same problem because it's still too low. And my proposal was not to change the first offense, but the second and third, to go to 50 and 60 for those, or 50 to 75 for those, but I'm fine with 30. Mr. Walker.
I can go either way on that. I think that as long as you get the escalating fines for the repeat offenders, that solves the employee parking on the street problem. Like they're only going to do that once, kind of a thing, if they try. I can definitely see the argument that you're downtown, you're running a quick errand, and you run into somebody, and now you want to grab lunch, and all of a sudden your 1 or 2 hour errand is a 3-4 hour errand, and we shouldn't penalize people for wanting to do that if we can. But I could support 20 as long as we have the escalation. I would even then probably want to make it even and go like to 60 for the third offense, 20, 40, 60. But
I'd be in support of that as well. I mean, I think that one of the things that we don't have is like one of those passport parking systems, right? So, I think that high fines and parking tickets make sense if you're, violating that time limit, right? And so because we have so little, inflexibility with the 2 hours, it just, that's kind of the,
right, you can't
what's
pay for
driving
more
behind
if
it.
you want it.
That's right. And $30 seems like a lot to pay for an extra hour.
Mr. Dunn.
Thanks, and I'd also like to think this through as like somebody that's gonna be out there parking, right? Nobody's gonna hear what we did tonight. They're gonna get their first ticket, $20. They're like, oh, that raised from 10. But then they're gonna get their second one. That's when the learning starts, right? Because it's 40. It's like double the first one. They're like, wow, what's going on? Why is this so much more? And then they find out, hey, every time you get a ticket within a year for parking, it's gonna go up.
Surely that's laid out on the first ticket.
I don't know. Being a habitual game player, I don't ever read the instructions. I just learn by, I got hit again, right? So anyway, I'm in favor of the $20 for the first one. I think going to $40 for the second one is very strategic because that's double, right? You just doubled what you did on your first offense within a year. So I'm in favor of the amendment. I'm also in favor of it being gradually more restrictive or more a dollar amount as you go up. But I also know that I can buy ingredients for an entire meal for my family from the supermarket for $30. And to me, I'm a big cheapskate. That seems like a lot of money to me still. Some people might not be fazed by it, but I resonate with the $20 suggestion.
Just to go back, is there a friendly amendment to include as part of the amendment the $60, so 20, 40, 60? It would be from you, Mr. Leffridge, you willing to make that amendment?
Yeah, I'll modify my amendment to include the third offense per year starting January 1st to be $60.
Mr. Nunley, Mr. Dowd had, I'm sorry, I got confused.
Sorry.
Mr. Dowd, you have the second, and you're willing to,
I'm willing to support that as well.
okay. Any
So
further-
20, 40, 60.
20, 40, 60. Any further discussion on that amendment? Roll call vote.
Counselor Blank?
Aye.
Counselor Dowd?
Aye.
Counselor Waterman?
Aye.
Counselor Leftridge?
Aye.
Counselor Nunley?
Aye.
Counselor Walker?
Aye.
Counselor Gabrielle?
Aye.
Mayor Hunter?
Aye, I'll make it unanimous. I going up to 60 helped convince me on that third offense. All right, so back to the original motion as amended. Further discussion on that.
Did we move this resolution yet? I don't remember.
Yes, we did.
Okay, good.
Mr. Waterman.
So again, a lot of work and community work has gone into this. I guess what I've learned in our conversations is by including the parking lots and how this is already written, then we're able to, with the license plate monitor, have a good way of knowing how lots are being used. So in that sense, I'm supportive of the resolution. Is thank you for staff for answering questions about that. But it does seem like the paper permits are just going to be something that would go away, but it would also give us more data of how all the lots are being used. So.
Did we have an answer to the question about the Valley Bake lot? I think maybe we should have a council go around because we're not voting on that in this resolution, but staff does need direction on that. Correct, Mr. Nygren, if you'd like to hear from council on.
Yeah, and we could also discuss that at the end of the meeting during, council manager reports as well. But as it is, I think we would keep the practice as proposed, where it would be a permit lot, unless directed otherwise by council. It was not in the packet, but there is a past council resolution is it resolution or ordinance about KPD? That gives pretty much the management of the city lots, the authority of that to KPD. So in general, they're the ones that have managed the permits, the permit fees and all that, other than the fee schedule. But, the other one that is out there as well was the Skyline lot, which is just by a matter of practice, because it was so underutilized, has always been free. But that one was as well, that was gonna be one that would be a $30 permit fee that you would then utilize, just like any other lots within the downtown.
And thank you, Your Honor. Sorry, just want to ask this one more time because I'm kind of like on a line right now. We vote forward with this as it stands. We're going to be making sure that we're trying to help those corporate offices be able to purchase in a way that's functional for them, but still gets us our information.
That's correct.
Okay.
We could, there's still gonna be some data that has to be given to the city, right?
Correct.
But we will be able to create a corporate account. There will still be efforts that staff and employees will need to take as far as being able to, if they drive different cars, they'll have to use the system. It's not gonna be as easy as just switching a permit on the hangar every day. But, there will be a mechanism in place that there could be some changes made.
Okay.
Mr. Dowd.
So what I heard is, if we just want to keep it a permit lot, we don't have to give any feedback.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, you ready to move to a vote? Okay, roll call on the resolution as amended.
This is
Counsel-
6331, right?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure I'm on the right page.
Counselor Blank,
Aye.
Counselor Dowd,
Aye.
Counselor Waterman,
Aye.
Counselor Leftridge,
Aye.
Counselor Nunnally,
Aye.
Counselor Walker,
Aye.
Counselor Gabrielle,
Aye.
Mayor Hunter.
Aye. Motion carries. On to ordinance 1952, first reading parking updates. Look to council for a motion. Mr. Waterman.
Your Honor, I move ordinance number 1952, an ordinance amending Chapter 17, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Article 4, Stopping, Standing, and Parking, generally of Kalispell Municipal Code, declaring an effective date and authorizing the city attorney to codify the same.
Second.
Ms. Gabriel, second. Thank you. Discussion on the item.
I'm supportive of this one because this definitely addresses the rolling issue that we've been talking about, which I think is one of those other issues that goes back with the research, but a lot of the comments is that you just can't move forward 5 feet and be out of this. So I support this because it really does identify an issue which we've been presented and trying to address.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote.
Counselor Blank?
Aye.
Counselor Dowd?
Aye.
Counselor Waterman?
Aye.
Counselor Leftridge?
Aye.
Counselor Nunley?
Aye.
Counselor Walker?
Aye.
Counselor Gabrielle?
Aye.
Mayor Hunter?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, on to our second action item, Resolution 6332, support for the creation of an opportunity zone. This resolution supports the application to the Montana Department of Commerce for an opportunity zone. Mr. Nygren, staff report.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, this is a resolution of support. Council certainly not obligated to do it in any such way. If the council didn't want to move forward, then certainly some of the other stakeholders within the city would likely be working with the state to try and get this nomination as well. But in general, what an opportunity zone is, it's a redevelopment tool basically using federal tax advantage scenarios through capital gains and such to incentivize redevelopment within a certain area of a city. Those areas are designated by the federal government by census tract. The federal government did put out a list of census tracts that also funneled down to the Montana Department of Commerce. Really, what this would do is just designate our downtown core as an opportunity zone and that specific census tract, and hopefully spur some redevelopment in that area through, like I said, some federal tax advantages that would come along with that. Just looking for a resolution of support on this, partnering with some of our local stakeholders as well to get this up to the state and hopefully get this designated for the city of Kalispell, and happy to answer any questions.
Questions for staff? Mr. Water.
Just a question regarding what the tax advantage is. It's about capital gains tax, a waiver on federal capital gains tax. Is that correct?
Correct.
And does that mean that when somebody's making this purchase, that they're sort of being incentivized to sell within a period of time and to get that, or how does that work?
So I'm going to be very general here because
Please.
it's very, so there's a lot that goes into it. There's been opportunity zone in Kalispell in the past. In general, the old opportunity zone was like a horseshoe around Main Street, and you had the west and the east ends. The silos is an opportunity zone, and the Parkline Towers is one. In general, what you're doing is creating a fund to invest in a project that actually, if you hold on to it, you actually get the tax advantages generally. I'm generalizing, but if you hold on to it for 10 years, you essentially don't pay capital gains on it. I think I'm saying that correct. So it's not as easy as, I think the incentivization is to build it and hold on to it for a period of time. And then you would get some tax benefits for doing that, but it is all at the federal level, not at the local level. So.
Thank you for explaining that. But again, one of those things which I guess I've learned with this one is that it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get condos in this area for people who are utilizing that, because usually then you're going to have a holder or holding company that's wanting to keep it, or somebody is more likely to keep it in rentals than to see individual home ownership in utilizing this. But what's great about it is the volume that it really does bring up. And so I guess what I support about this and like the idea is how it does include downtown, which is a major gap in that horseshoe.
Any further questions for staff? Mr. Dowd.
I'm just trying to figure out why we have to do this at all. I mean, they already designated it as an area, right?
We have to apply to the state, and the governor would essentially authorizes them or picks them. So I think a resolution from the city up to the state, there's an application that's required by the state. Like I said, it doesn't have to be the city of Kalispell. It could be a local stakeholder group that would apply, but certainly showing that we're all on the same team, moving forward in the same direction as a group is the recommended path forward. And being the city of Kalispell, having a formal resolution of support designating this, just like a grant, would be the appropriate path to do that.
All right, thanks, I appreciate it.
Okay, I'll open this item up for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the council, please step to the mic, state your name for the record, or raise your hand if you're online.
I'm being ordered. Good evening, Mayor, City Councilors, Lorraine Klarna with the Kalispell Chamber and Downtown Forward, and Discover Kalispell now. So just very quickly, I want to thank PJ and Jared and the staff for working with us and putting this together. It's a great opportunity to not just get the capital gains tax deferrals, but it also attracts private equity. It's way above my pay grade in terms of understanding, but it's all an IRS status. So there's no risk to the city or any of the 6 partners that have signed on as collaborators. So I just want to thank them as well. And we had 2 letters of support from developers that have projects that they really want to get going, the mall and the Conrad Hotel. So we have two good projects that really we think will kind of make this application stand out above others in across the state. We don't know how many will be submitted. I think there's a maximum of 20 or 25 that the governor can award. So we hope we've put together an application that shows that Kalispell's not only ready, but shovel ready in a couple areas, and these investment IRS points would definitely get things going a little bit faster sooner rather than later. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no further public comment, I'll look to council for a motion.
May I make a motion? Oh, sorry, you may go.
Go ahead.
You're right, okay.
Go for it.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 6332, a resolution authorizing an application by the city of Kalispell to the Montana Department of Commerce with a request for a recommendation to be forwarded to the governor's office for review and approval of the creation of an opportunity zone for census tract 30029001000 in the city of Kalispell, Montana.
Second.
Oh, Mr. Nunley, I'll give that to you.
Darn it.
All right, discussion on the motion. Mr. Waterman.
I'm really excited about this as an opportunity. A lot of things that we talk about happening for downtown are actually economic development. This is one of those really good tools that can be there. When layered with other incentives, it can really create something that I think we're all hoping to see in downtown. The census tract not being included in the first rounds was always, I think, just one of those historic frustrations I had. Because it did feel like it horseshoed a major part of downtown in the core area that we were really trying to focus on. So I'm really glad to see that we have community partners who are interested in this as well, so that we can put something forward for the opportunity of our downtown.
I just comment, I'm not necessarily a big fan of tax incentives to developers to develop. So if I were in Congress, I don't know that I'd necessarily support opportunity zones. I think there's some question about their effectiveness and whatnot, generally as a policy. However, given that they exist as a tool and they can benefit our downtown, I support being the ones to utilize it here as opposed to passing it up and having it utilized in other communities. So it's a bit of a mixed opinion there. I'm not in Congress. I'm on the Kalispell City Council, so I will be supporting it as well. And with that, we'll have a roll call vote.
Counselor Blank?
Aye.
Counselor Dowd?
Aye.
Counselor Waterman?
Aye.
Counselor Leftridge?
Aye.
Counselor Nunnally?
Aye.
Counselor Walker?
Aye.
Counselor Gabrielle? Aye. Mayor Hunter?
Aye, motion carries. Next item on our agenda is appointments to the Housing Study Advisory Committee. This item considers appointment of up to 7 members to this temporary committee. Mr. Nygren?
Mayor and Council, on June 15th, the council authorized or approved Resolution 6331, authorizing a temporary housing study advisory committee. This committee would advise the city staff while it's reviewing and creating a housing study. It's made up of 7 members, and since that time, we did put it out to the public for applicants. And just at this point, it's just the mayor and the council putting those people on the committee, at which point staff will start to put together a work plan for them coming in the coming months once we start the housing study. So happy to answer any other questions.
Any questions for staff? Ms. Gabriel.
Thank you, Your Honor. City boards and committees have always required that you be a city resident to apply, correct?
Not all of them have that requirement.
So they don't all. Does this one?
It does not have, it does not require that.
Okay. Which
But it
ones
has a
don't?
general makeup. Planning Commission, for example, has Flathead County representative. Revolving Loan Fund Committee, it's more about just qualifications,
Okay.
not general city residency, but just qualifications for reviewing loans and credit and things like that. So not, generally, most boards do have a majority council or city residents on it, but it's not a requirement that they be such.
Thank you. I was getting hung up there, so thank you.
Okay, I'll open this item up for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the council on this topic, please step to the mic, state your name. Did you?
I just said something really brief. If the people involved are here tonight and they are willing, I would love for them to stand up, come up to the mic and just say their name. That would be helpful. I know a lot of faces. The applications don't have pictures with them, so I can't, sometimes I have trouble. I did read them all, but I want to make sure that I got the person associated with the position. It's totally voluntary, but I would prefer that. I really like when people apply for things or if they're interested in a city project and they're actually here for the meeting. So that's just a request I have.
Okay, appreciate that. Yeah, if you'd like to step to the mic, state your name for the record, or raise your hand if you're online.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. My name is Erica Wardala. I work for the Northwest Montana Association of Realtors. I guess my qualification for applying for this job, besides just being sort of in the thick of the industry, is that I worked with the city of Whitefish when they were looking for consultants to do their housing inventory project. And then they have now done 2 housing affordability studies, kind of an inventory, helping them with gathering data and things like that. And then their 3rd study kind of came in between the 2 inventories, and that was coming up with strategies on how to address the deficiencies that the first study identified and how to bring those housing gaps closer. And one of the strategies was inclusionary zoning. And so I worked on that committee for a year, and then I worked on the committee with the strategy people for about a year. So I bring that depth of experience to the committee if chosen, as well as I am a board member. I think this must be my 3rd 3-year term with the Northwest Montana Community Land Trust, and that is finding affordable housing for people. We retain the land and sell the home, and I really enjoy that work. So thank you very much for your kind consideration.
My name is Mark Friedline. I'm the executive officer for the Flathead Building Association. I'm also a former city employee, was a recreation superintendent for the city of Kalispell for 7 years. I won't go back into my qualifications because you have it there, but happy to be in the audience if you have any questions.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, glad to be here. I'm Dina Rose. I have a PhD in sociology from Duke University, over 25 years of experience in creating studies around poverty, homelessness, food insecurity, crime. Interested in how we can create a vibrant community for all members of the public at all different stages of life. While I've been relative newcomer to Kalispell, the Flathead Valley, while I've been here, I was on the board of the Abbey Shelter. I was the chair of that board for a number of years. I was briefly on the board of the North Valley Food Bank. I have worked with Habitat for Humanity in their housing selection and a variety of other projects.
Can you pronounce your last name again?
Rose,
Okay,
like the flower.
gotcha, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Mike Brody, 120 Woodland Avenue, Kalispell, Montana. I'm a senior project engineer with WGM Group. I've interacted with a fair amount of you in the past, oftentimes on housing projects. I was impressed with all of the interest in the applicants, and looks like you guys have a hard task ahead of you with all those resumes to go through. But if there's any questions, feel free to ask, and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if you're online, please raise a hand, speak.
Cassidy, do you want to go ahead? I do not know why that is not working. Let me try something here. Cassidy, do you want to try again?
Hello, can you hear me?
There we go.
Yes, we can.
Fabulous. My name is Cassidy Kipp. I apologize. I have a family reunion in Polson tonight, so I'm not able to attend. But really excited about this opportunity, and I won't revisit my application, but I've certainly worked around housing and with the intricacies of a variety of programs that are currently at play in our community, as well as awareness and understanding about other tools that may be helpful in our area. So excited about this opportunity and to see what comes of this advisory committee.
Darla?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. At least I got it in time.
Oh, I removed the wrong person's permission to speak. Sorry about that. They move on me when I try to push them. Let's see here.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Sorry. Start over. I'm sorry, Darla.
Okay. My name is Darla Provencio. I live at 528 Crestview here in Kalispell. Council members, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate the work you're doing to address affordable housing in Kalispell. This is an issue that affects families, employers, and the long-term health of our community. Because of how important this topic is, I want to share a concern about the proposed composition of this committee. As currently recommended, most of the applicants come from development firms or nonprofit housing organizations. These are valuable perspectives, and I respect the work these groups do, but they also represent sectors with direct financial or organizational interests in the outcomes of this committee. When a committee is structured almost entirely around stakeholders who benefit from the development activity, it creates an unintentional bias. Even with the best intentions, the group's perspective becomes narrowed, and the broader community's interests, renters, homeowners, taxpayers, and residents who experience the impacts of rapid growth are underrepresented. Housing and affordable housing in specific is not just a development issue, it's a community-wide issue. And because of that, it deserves a committee that reflects the full community, not just the development side of it, including independent members, people without financial ties to development or nonprofit housing, would strengthen public trust, improve transparency, and ensure that the committee's recommendations are balanced, credible, and broadly supported. A committee composed almost entirely of developers and/or nonprofit housing organizations may not fully represent this broader infrastructure concerns. Balanced representation would help ensure that the committee considers not only the need for housing, but also whether our city services can keep pace with that growth in a responsible and sustainable way. Thank you for taking the time to consider me as an applicant.
Thank you.
Sean, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, thank you so much. Sean Patrick O'Neill. I'm usually very long-winded, so I will try to be short here. As you guys will see from my resume, I have an extensive background and work experience, lived experience, and education that makes me pretty well suited for a committee of this type, and I would be happy to serve and appreciate your consideration. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that's it.
All right, seeing no further public comment, we'll move into my recommendation to the council on the committee. And first, I want to state, we had 23 applicants. And that is a lot for a committee, and it shows a great deal of interest in this, which I'm very appreciative of. And as I mentioned to the council in the past, previously, the bigger challenge here was going to be selecting among the people who applied, given the level of interest I was hearing out there, and that certainly proved true, and I'm certainly glad we moved to 7 members as opposed to originally proposed 5, because even narrowing it down to 7 was very difficult. And I say there are many different ways I could have gone with my recommendation to council on this. Lots of people not among my recommendation who I wish I could have chosen. I wish we could have done 9 or more even, because just some really great applicants. So with that, here are the 7 that I recommend to council. The first is Mike Smith, market president with Glacier Bank. We had talked previously about wanting to have lending experience on this committee, and he is the lender who applied and obviously involved in the community, a board member of NeighborWorks, a downtown business owner, and Glacier Bank, obviously a member of the Chamber of Commerce, so very much involved in the community. The next person I would recommend is Cassidy Kipp, Samaritan House Director, and Samaritan House is actively providing and building affordable housing in our community. I would say among the most knowledgeable people in the Valley on federal and state affordable housing programs. So I think a very valuable resource to the committee. Third, I would recommend Casey Wyckoff, architect, downtown business owner, board member of the Chamber of Commerce, and I think would have valuable insights on urban development and kind of impacts on downtown. Fourth recommendation would be Jill Davis. What struck me about her is she's faced housing instability in the past, is currently a renter. Mr. Dowd speaks to being the only renter on the council, and I think that's valuable perspective to have on the council, and I think it'd be a valuable perspective to have on the committee. To my knowledge, she's the only renter who applied to the committee. She's also a property manager, serves on the board of Livable Flathead, which is an organization specifically focused on creating affordable housing in the Valley. And then my next recommendation would be Sean O'Neill with the Flathead Warming Center. He has actively been working to house the most difficult to house in our community. As we heard just in recent weeks, he was successful in housing 61 individuals this past year, works extensively with people with behavioral health issues, And the Flat Warming Center was an organization that requested that the city look at creating an advisory committee to begin with. So I think that's appropriate. My next recommendation is Peter Hagan with Hayden Homes. One of the builders, Hayden Homes, is a member of the group that Ms. Davison spoke about to us the other week. He's a former realtor, and I do realize he is out of town, not a local resident, but in this case, I think that might be a valuable perspective to try to bring some outside perspective to the committee. Specifically, he works on similar committees in Washington and Idaho, so he can bring some of that knowledge from his work in other communities to our committee and our work here. And Hayden Homes is the largest current builder in Kalispell. My last recommendation would be Nikki Lintz, who is a property manager, large property manager in the community, important perspective, and a former board member of Samaritan House as well. So those would be my 7 recommendations to the council, and I look to council for a motion. Mr. Waterman.
Your Honor, I move your recommendations as you listed.
Second.
Walker, second. Thank you. Discussion on the recommendations.
Just speaking to the motion, I agree. You had a hard choice of who to do. I appreciate who to select. Great to have a robust applicant pool. Does make it hard to balance out. Thank you for highlighting your thought process and who you're recommending. I do think you're finding a balance there to make sure that we are looking at multiple perspectives, from lenders to people who are more working in homeless services to a robust, including bankers and stuff like that. So I appreciate the roundness that you're doing with this selection.
Mr. Dowd.
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate that you've chosen people from different areas around, of different segments of the community here. We had 23 applicants. I thought that it would be most appropriate if we looked at applicants that lived in Kalispell first, just because the decisions they make are going to be impacting them and their neighbors. So I would like to look at the in-town applicants first, the people that are citizens of Kalispell. And also the one demographic that I think is really important that may not have a voice here, maybe, I did read through all the applications, is retired / people that are elderly. So I'm really interested in hearing, or having somebody on the committee that represents that demographic, because it is a large demographic here in Kalispell. So, and they're really affected by rental and housing prices just as much as people with low income. These are people with fixed income. So that's the only hole in this that I see. If we're willing to adjust that to, there was a few retired individuals on here. I think Darla Provencio actually had a really impressive resume. Very educated, a lot of good background in not only Kalispell, but also being on the Economic Revolving Loan Committee. She's seen some things come by that are associated. But anyway, it doesn't necessarily have to be her. I like her resume the most. But I would sure like to see somebody from that demographic placed on this committee. And also, you know, there are others that have a similar background to some of the people that you chose that are from out of town, that I would hope that we could consider as well. So I'm just throwing that out as what I saw. pleasantly surprised by the people that you chose. I just had a few things that I'd like to tweak on them as far as, with 23 applicants, 19 of these people live in the city of Kalispell. Thank you.
Mr. Nolan.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. I too agree that I think that you chose some pretty good people on here, but I would also have to agree with Councilman Dowd that having somebody from out of state, right, I would get concerned if we would ever have to get into a position of having to pay for travel for somebody to come in. I don't know that we would need to, but having somebody on a city board that we're wanting to travel, I think definitely, I'm sure he has a lot of knowledge and everything, but coming from not even just outside of Kalispell, but outside of the state, not even the neighboring state, right? I had a little concern with that. And I think that there is, much like Councilman Dowd said, I think another part that I didn't quite see on there that I was kind of hoping we could have would be somebody from the realtor to side of it, right? Because they do play a big part in whatever gets done with this. So I would consider Erica Wordla in that position, or even a Mark Friedline in that position, but definitely over somebody from Spokane.
We'll note that Mr. Hagan travels regularly to the Flathead for his business, so I don't think he'd be looking for any kind of reimbursement. It'd just be part of his travel for his work. Mr. Walker.
I will say I don't know Mr. Hagan. My wife has worked with him on the collaborating housing solutions subcommittees that Ms. Davison spoke about last time. She said he has served on similar communities in Spokane and Idaho. I think that that outside, but not too outside, that's still pretty nearby, neighborhood for us. We have a good idea, good perspectives on what works, what doesn't work, what's been tried nearby, what hasn't been tried. I feel like if we get too local, we get too much of an echo chamber of we know what we know, we don't know what we don't know, and this guy could provide some outside counterpoints, for lack of a better word. So I'm supportive of at least one outside opinion on the advisory committee, but I think the most of them are certainly live or work here in Kalispell, directly affected by this. I'm in support of it.
Ms. Gabriel.
Thank you, Your Honor. I also would, not that I don't think that the gentleman from Spokane is qualified, he certainly is, but I would prefer to see it Kalispell-based as well, which is why I asked the question, because as I was going through and evaluating, there were a couple that I know don't live in Kalispell. So my 2 cents would be that I think we should be looking at someone like Erica or like Mike Brody with their very broad experiences in the community. They're both incredibly active. They both sit on boards that work in this world. So I think they would bring their professional perspective as well as their passion, which is housing. I also think, Sean, Cassidy, Nicole, the three of them, nobody has the experiences they have, but I don't think we need 2 of them or 3 of them, if that makes sense. I'd rather see somebody that has a different perspective, so we've got everyone at the table. So I don't know who that'd be. Kim Morisaki is another one that's very well connected in the community and works in that world. So those are just my thoughts. But I appreciate your very broad list. I really do. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was certainly hoping to go for that very represents, half nonprofit, half for-profit. And I will point out that Collaborative Housing Solutions is the nonprofit group. Ms. Davison is a different group. I'm not sure what they call themselves, but just to clarify the record there. Mr. Lethbridge.
I have to say I'm super impressed with the quality of applicants and the diversity of experience. And although my list of candidates may differ from the one that the mayor put forward, one of the perks of being the mayor is making these recommendations. And as far as I can tell, it seems there's not that many perks of being mayor. With all due respect.
That's absolutely true.
So I will be supporting his recommendations.
Guess that leaves me. I too was grateful that we had so many applicants and so many qualified applicants. Really was a good, how shall I say it, a good signal that we are moving in the right direction and that we have a lot of people who really care about this issue and want to contribute to that issue. So thank you for that. When I went through, and yes, I agree, the mayor does not seem to have much. So I don't want to be contrary, but the way I looked at this, I also looked at areas. And so I wondered about mental health specifically. That was one area that I wondered when you were thinking about some duplicates. It looked to me like you had some duplicates in some areas and not in others. So I just something to think about. Because I had a couple folks in the mental health bucket that I didn't see any in your list, so it's just something for the council to think about. I also saw that we had, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 folks who are in business and I struggled with that. How do we choose one over the other? They all seemed like they had great opportunities to bring to the community. So one thought was to go with someone who could represent them all. So I'm thinking Mark, through the Flathead Building Association, does represent not all, but most of them. So that's one solution that I had thought about. So I'm just putting that out there. And so those were some thoughts that I had. Is that it does seem like your list is broad, but it's duplicative, and then in some areas. And then I also, like Councilman Dowd, I'm really, because of Ward 2, is there are so many seniors, and I definitely don't see that as well represented as I do others, and I really strongly think this committee needs to think about that demographic, and it needs to have a voice here, so I'd like to see that voice strengthened in this group, and I think there are spots that could be possible.
We'll note that Mr. O'Neill works extensively with folks with behavioral health issues and is very well connected in that community in terms of working with those folks. Okay, seeing no further discussion, roll call vote.
Counselor Blank? No. Counselor Dowd?
No?
Counselor Waterman?
Yes.
Counselor Leftridge?
Aye.
Counselor Nunnally?
No.
Counselor Walker?
Aye.
Counselor Gabrielle?
No.
And Mayor Hunter.
Aye. So motion fails. Make some. So the folks who voted no threw out different names. So that makes this next process
Tough.
very challenging. I will propose substituting Mr. Wyckoff for Ms. Wartala, from a couple people as a preferred candidate. I'm sorry, I don't know the ages. I don't think that's part of the application. So I found that comment a little bit perplexing because I don't know how old everybody is or what,
There were some applicants who spoke to that issue, though, I guess is what I'm saying.
Weren't there a couple that said they were retired?
Yep, and living on fixed incomes, yep.
And which were those applicants?
Wasn't
Dina
Darla?
Rose
Darla.
is one.
What's that?
Diane Porter was one, Darla was one.
Dina Rose
Yeah,
Yep.
is retired also. Mm-hmm.
and Darla Provencio.
Okay. So then I would recommend Dina Rose substitute for Nikki Lentz. Is that?
I guess my only other piece would be, I'm not comfortable with having someone from Spokane advise on what needs to happen here. So I really want us to, that's partly why I said no, is I just can't support that.
Would you consider Mike Brody for that, since he has, he's not directly in the, he's not a builder, he's not a developer, but he works with them all the time. He's got a lot of connections there.
Either that or I heard Kim Morisaki.
Or Mark.
Or Mark. I would propose Kim Morisaki. Substitute Peter Hagan. So we would then have Mike Smith, Cassie Kipp, Erica Wartala, Jill Davis, Sean O'Neill, Kim Morisaki, and Dinah Rose.
I think it's Dina.
Dina.
Sorry, excuse me. Someone like to make that motion?
Move to accept your amended slate of candidates.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Gabriel. Second. Further discussion on the roster.
Thank you for being willing to come talk about that more. Appreciate that.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, seeing no further, well,
Wait, we had a motion. Did somebody second that? Okay,
Yes.
cool.
I did.
Ms.
All right.
Gabriel. Further?
Can you say the list one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mike Smith, Cassie Kipp, Erica Wartala, Jill Davis, Sean O'Neill, Kim Morisaki, and Dinah Rose. Dina. Good. Okay, roll call vote.
Counselor Blank,
Aye.
Counselor Dowd,
Aye.
Counselor Waterman,
Aye.
Counselor Leftridge,
Aye.
Counselor Nunnally,
Aye.
Counselor Walker,
Aye.
Counselor Gabrielle,
Aye.
Mayor Hunter.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you for that. Now moving on to our last action agenda item, appointment to Evergreen Water and Sewer District 1 Advisory Committee. This item considers appointing Susie Turner, Director of Public Works, for this committee. Mr. Nygren.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, there was a resolution provided by the Evergreen Water and Sewer District creating an advisory committee, similar to what the council just did.
It is voluntary, right? Like, you did agree to this?
Mr. Dowd.
There is nobody that's currently in this room that has more experience with the Evergreen history than Susie, so I think she's a great choice. So I appreciate that.
Open this item up for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the council, please step to the mic, state your name for the record, or raise your hand if you're online. Okay, seeing no public comment, look for council for a motion. Mr. Nolly.
I make a motion that we accept or appoint Susie Turner, Director of Public Works, to represent the City of Kalispell on the Evergreen Water Sewer District 1 Advisory Committee.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Blank. Second. Discussion on the item, Mr. Nunley?
I will just say that I have watched Susie since coming here, and she is a phenomenal asset to the city. But I will take this one step further, and I have had the opportunity to talk with the gentleman who oversees all the engineering for the school of MSU, and he glows about Susie every time that we are so lucky to have Susie at our city. So I think absolutely she is the right choice.
I too, supportive of the motion. I think we do have a really good person, but what I appreciate about Ms. Turner is not only a dedication to Kalispell and to that, but it's also just to making sure that these systems are the best that they can be. And I think that that's really the recommendation that we're able to, we want to see Evergreen succeed. So I'm really happy to make sure that they have the best advice that we can send their way.
I agree. I have full confidence and most appropriate appointment for the position. So with that, roll call vote.
Counselor Blank?
Aye.
Counselor Dowd?
Aye.
Counselor Waterman?
Aye.
Counselor Leftridge?
Aye.
Counselor Nunley?
Aye.
Counselor Walker?
Aye.
Counselor Gabrielle? Aye. Mayor Hunter?
Aye, motion carries. City manager report.
Yes, Mayor and Council, next week we will be having another work session on the preliminary budget. As you know, going in a final budget, we are at the end of the fiscal year, so we do kind of have a pretty good idea of what our year-end numbers will be and the carryover, cash carryover, and just wanted to have some discussion as there is a lot of new council members about how we've handled that in the past and what maybe some of the options would be in the future, as well as just go over kind of some of those last minute changes we made through the work sessions. Also, the Valley Bank lot, sorry for any confusion on that, but it's certainly, the one difficulty with keeping it a permit lot, which will be the direction we're headed, is given the central location, it is gonna be one of those lots that likely has high demand, and as far as when we do monitor it over the next year or so, it is gonna be utilized the most. I just wanna make sure as we get into the future, we look at it holistically, knowing that, likely will be the highest utilization, but it doesn't mean that those individuals won't have somewhere else to go once we know kind of how the other lots are being utilized as well. But that's all I got for tonight.
Council reports, Mr. Dowd, start with you.
Thank you. So I guess I was hoping that there would be more people out there still, but just by a show of hands, is there anybody in here that's too hot?
Which way do you mean?
Too hot, temperature-wise?
Okay.
Okay. I have been freezing up here for months, and I'm like a 220-pound man. Okay. I would like to suggest that we bring down the temperature 2 degrees for next meeting, just to see how that goes. Yeah, up. A little bit warmer, please. I don't know. I just feel like I forgot my coat tonight, and I'm feeling it.
A little sad about that.
I am. I'm sad about that. I'd like to thank the mayor for being flexible. I had 7 different people picked, but I did have a shotgun around the different demographics, and I appreciate that you're willing to work with the rest of the council. I think that was a huge show of unity where we could actually compromise on some people. And lastly, just an address for people that are here or might be watching this online or later on. You know, I'm a big defender of your freedom and your individual rights. I have been an outspoken in my defense of the people's ability to continue to cruise Main Street. However, freedom becomes less defendable when people exercise their freedom and individual rights by violating others' freedom and individual rights. Without personal responsibility and the respect for your fellow citizens' individual rights, freedom doesn't work. I will continue to support your freedom, but I'm also going to be continuing to crack down on those that are violating that spirit. And I just wanted people to be clear. I've been outspoken on my support for people to continue this activity. And I will continue that, but there is no excuse for stepping on others' rights in order to exercise your own. Thank you.
I just want to be very clear that I'm in complete support of the Valley Bank lot being public parking and not permit parking. I think that being able to have that central location on Main Street where patrons know that they can go park if they want to go to Ceres or to one of the other stores, having that location they can go to is just as important for people that are visiting downtown as it is for an employee to know what lot they can go to and where to park. We are missing that downtown, and I think that that's a missing piece. During the work session, we also talked about with the elimination of the Valley Bank lot, there's still plenty of spaces in the other lots to absorb the amount of folks that we have. One piece that we didn't talk about tonight, since we're kind of switching stuff up, is whether or not we're going to open up the permits to an unlimited applicant pool. Because what we are going to see is infill. We're going to see the Valley Bank lot, we're going to see some of those other lots be utilized, and then the utilization of the other lots are going to be extremely low. It's, the Methodist lot, which is already at like 20%, is going to drop to probably nothing, right? So if we are still limiting the number of permits that we have over the system, we're not solving our problem here. So that's my two pieces. I understand that it's a police department policy, and I respect that decision making, but that is the advice that I would give.
I would echo that. I mean, I do support Valley parking lot, Bank parking lot, moving to being a 2-hour parking lot when we're ready. I think that, again, as part of the discussion and the way we're going, I think Mayor also brought up a large issue. It's one of the lots that we're planning on taking out of the picture. So I also would hope that staff finds that comfortable time to move it into the 2-hour. That said, let's get through the reading process. And this might be something that we're looking at implementing next year, and I understand that as well, just because most of this now is going to end up coming in the fall. So just where we are, but I do think that the intention is, but also as the mayor pointed out, it's the lot that's really going away. So probably need to get used to not having that as being a permitted parking lot. Again, also, thank you to all the people who applied. Mayor, thank you for making the hard decisions, and it was nice to see a civil conversation of how we wanted to adjust that to be able to show support, because we had great applicants, and it was not a deflection on anybody's qualifications. We just had too many applicants who were coming in, and we were trying to balance that off, and I thought we did a well job with that, so thank you.
And one of when looking at all and one of when looking at all of that, what was recognized is that we can't have leadership if our leadership doesn't meet on a regular basis, and if our leadership doesn't include Columbia Falls, Whitefish, Big Fork, Evergreen, and the county. So one of we as a group are reaching out. So Jared will be reaching out to folks to learn more about how this might work. But the recommendation was for the fifth Monday of the month. And I know that's already committed, but I just wanted to put in my 2 cents that I feel really strongly that there is a lot of positive interest on the part of other city councils. So we've been told they're not interested. That is not at all what came across at this meeting. It was, we all realize if we don't start talking to each other, we've got problems that will not be solved otherwise. So I'm just putting that out there that I know I'm not saying you must, or maybe I am putting out a big, strong, would you please consider? Because I'd really like for us to see, and what would be, we don't know, it could be that it moves from city or area to area. That's all being discussed by the city managers in the respective areas, but just a heads up on that. And then lastly, I am wondering, I love public comment, but I think some of our members speak so long that others leave because they're so tired and it gets so late. So I'm wondering if we can think about getting closer to that 3-minute time frame rather than closer to 30 minutes. I just wonder who we're missing by not keeping things on a more restrictive timeline is unfortunately the word I don't, because I don't want to, my goal is not to restrict comment. My goal is to
allow more time so that we can hear more, and we by having so much time spent by certain repeat individuals, then we lose out on some other things. I've seen multiple times where people have left, it's just too late. So just something to think about.
Well, I guess I'm next. I would say my wife tells me I'm hot. I weigh 290 pounds, Sid.
You're very hot, yeah.
I'm cooking up here, so if you could turn down the heat, that would be great. I will just say, I'm glad to see that we are all back in the chambers with all 10 toes. I'm hoping we all have 11, or 10 fingers. I hope we all have 11 toes still, so we didn't blow anything off during the holidays. Glad to see you all back, and don't forget, America 250 lasts till the end of the year, so we will be probably seeing more things. I also want to say thank you for that discussion that we had today. I do too think that it is critical, and I'm really glad to hear that there is now discussion moving forward, because it's been one of the frustrating things for me, saying we need to all be talking, and I would add in Big Fork, Lakeside, Summers,
They were all there.
all of them, right? Because if we don't start planning for today, in 50 years, we're not going to be able to travel anywhere.
Exactly.
And that's a major problem. Flathead County is the largest county in the state of Montana with the most unincorporated citizens living in the county. That is a major issue. And I don't think it gets recognized enough that we need to all be, as cities, be doing our part to ensure that we're doing the right building codes and the right design standards and everything, so that we're encouraging that growth and development within the city boundaries and not necessarily just out into the county. So I look forward to those discussions. Thanks.
Yeah, just echo what Elsa said. It's great to have this many applicants for a committee. I know we're usually starved for applicants, so it's a nice problem to have. Good discussion. I'm glad we could come to a reasonable compromise, and yeah, glad to see us getting along, passing things. It's good to see.
Thank you, Your Honor, again for your flexibility on that. I think that was great discussion back and forth, and I'm glad to see a wider range of experience. So, Mr. Nunnally, does that mean we have another 6 months of firecrackers? Is that what you're trying to say?
No. We're celebrating as a country for another 6 months. That's what I'm saying. Not necessarily fireworks.
Firecrackers. I love fireworks, but firecrackers. And I agree with what you said, Mr. Dowd, about being able to express yourself. And fireworks is the one thing for me that I love a great display as much as anybody, but I really hate them going off. They're still going off in my neighborhood all night long, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
And it was,
My dogs are drugged.
yes, all of our dogs are drugged. I actually leave town the 4th of July every year because of that. But anyway, I digress. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll say I also support the lot going to 2 hours, because that was the proposal that brought forward from a group that spent a lot of time looking at it and doing study, and I want to encourage that community engagement. I don't have as strong of feelings about it, but I do want to kind of, support a community proposal that's come before us that seems well reasoned. So I do support that. And then just regards to fireworks, I share your thoughts, Ms. Gabriel. One of the issues is that for whatever reason, there's some difficulty in enforcing our ban on fireworks in the community. And one of the things I've thought of is that maybe to make it perhaps more reasonable to enforce or easier to enforce, is that you have certain dates and times when fireworks could be permitted, certain types of fireworks, so that when you are, say, past 10 o'clock in the evening, or it's not the day before, the day of, or the day after 4th of July or New Year's Eve, that then the police could take enforcement action and feel more confident in their doing so. But that's for another day. That's just some late thoughts that I have, thinking about this a little bit. So with that, we're adjourned.